The moon was a lonely place, but had learned to love it. She had lived on Moon Base Gamma 7 for almost 4 years now. The base was small, old, and half-broken. A mining company had built it 20 years ago, but they went bankrupt and left everything behind. Bought it for almost nothing. She fixed the air systems, repaired the power generators, and turned it into her home. Most people thought she was crazy. Why would a 32-year-old engineer choose to live alone on the moon? But had her reasons. She liked the silence. She liked the work. She liked looking at Earth hanging in the black sky, blue and white and beautiful, while she drank her morning coffee. Her job was simple. She ran salvage operations on dead satellites. She fixed broken equipment. She maintained the atmospheric processors that kept her alive. It was hard work, but it was honest work, and it was hers. That night was checking the water recyclers when her alarm started screaming. She ran to the control room. Her screens were flashing red. Something big was entering lunar space, and it was coming in fast, too fast. Watched the radar with wide eyes. The object was not a meteor. It was not space junk. It was a ship unlike anything she had ever seen. The craft hit the crater rim 2 kilometers east of her base. The impact shook the ground beneath her feet. Through her observation window, she saw the flash of light, the spray of lunar dust rising like a slow-motion explosion. Stood frozen for exactly 3 seconds. Then she moved. She grabbed her emergency suit. She checked her oxygen. She powered up her rover. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was clear. Someone had crashed on her moon. Someone might be dying right now. The drive took 8 minutes, the longest 8 minutes of her life. When she reached the crash site, her breath caught in her throat. The ship was massive, at least 50 meters long. Its hull was made of a dark metal she did not recognize. Strange symbols covered its surface. Parts of it were burning with a fire that should not exist in the vacuum of space. Parked her rover and approached on foot. Her suit's sensors detected no radiation, no toxic chemicals, just heat and wreckage and silence. She found the entrance, a hole torn in the side of the hull. She climbed inside. The interior was dark. Emergency lights flickered red and orange. She moved through corridors that were too tall, too wide for human design. Everything felt wrong. Everything felt alien. Because it was alien. Found bodies, 3 of them. They were humanoid but not human. Their skin was silver blue. Their hands had 4 fingers instead of 5. They wore uniforms of some kind, torn and burned. They were dead. She kept moving. In what looked like a command center, she found him. He was slumped against a wall, breathing shallow, blood leaking from a wound in his side. His blood was not red. It was gold. Liquid gold, spreading across the floor like melted sunlight. Knelt beside him. His eyes fluttered open. They were strange eyes, deep purple with flecks of silver, like galaxies compressed into human form. He looked at her with confusion, with fear, with something that might have been hope. He spoke, words she did not understand, a language her translation software had never heard. "I do not understand you," said, "but I am going to help you, okay? I am going to help." She did not know if he understood her, but she saw his eyes focus on her face. She saw him nod just slightly. That was enough. Getting him to the rover was the hardest thing had ever done. He was tall, almost 2 meters, and heavy. His body was limp, his strength gone. She had to drag him through the wreckage, lift him over debris, carry him across the lunar surface one agonizing step at a time. Her suit's oxygen alarm beeped. She ignored it. Her muscles screamed in protest. She ignored that too. She got him into the rover. She drove back to base faster than safety allowed. She carried him inside, sealed the airlock, and laid him on her medical table. Then she looked at his wound and felt her heart sink. Was an engineer, not a doctor. She knew how to fix machines, not bodies. And this was not even a human body. She had no idea how his organs worked. She did not know if human medicine would help him or kill him. But she had to try. She cleaned the wound as best she could. The golden blood kept flowing. She used her cauterizing tool, the one meant for sealing pipe leaks, to close the torn flesh. The smell was strange, metallic, like burning copper. He screamed once, a sound that broke her heart, then went silent. She bandaged him with materials meant for industrial accidents. She gave him water, not knowing if he could drink it. She covered him with blankets and sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall. For 3 days he did not wake. Barely slept. She checked his vital signs every hour, even though she did not know what normal vital signs looked like for his species. She talked to him, even though he could not hear her. She told him about her life, about Earth, about the stars she watched every night from her observation deck. On the 4th day, his eyes opened. Was making coffee when she heard him move. She rushed to his side and found him trying to sit up, his face twisted with pain. "No, no, stop," she said, pushing him gently back down. "You are hurt, you need to rest." He stared at her. His purple eyes were clearer now, more focused. He spoke again in that strange language, and this time her translation software caught fragments. It was learning. "Where's who?" "You crashed," said slowly. "Near my base. I brought you here. I fixed you. Well, I tried to fix you. I am not a doctor." He blinked, processing. "You saved me." His voice was rough, broken, but she understood the words. "Yes," said, "I saved you." He looked at her for a long moment. She saw something shift in his expression. Confusion became wonder. Wonder became something deeper. "Why?" he asked. Did not have a complicated answer. She did not have a political reason or a strategic goal. She was just a woman who had seen someone dying and decided to help. "Because you needed saving," she said simply, "and I was here." She handed him a cup of reconstituted soup, the only food she had that might work for him. "Now drink this. You crashed on my property, which makes you my responsibility, and I do not let people die on my property." The alien prince, the ruler of 47 star systems, the most powerful man in the known galaxy, took the cup with trembling hands. And for the first time in a very long time, he felt safe. The days passed slowly on Moon Base Gamma 7. Fell into a new routine. She woke up, checked on her patient, made breakfast for 2, and then went about her work while keeping one eye on the medical bay. The alien healed faster than any human would, but he was still weak, still recovering. They learned to communicate in pieces. Her translation software improved each day, building a bridge between their languages word by word. Sometimes they used gestures. Sometimes they drew pictures. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence, watching Earth rise through the observation window. His name was, at least that was how she heard it. The sounds of his true name were too complex for human ears. He was quiet and polite. He thanked her every day for saving his life. He apologized for being a burden. He tried to help with small tasks even when his body protested. Liked him, she was surprised by how much. On the 8th day was strong enough to walk. Gave him a tour of her small base. The control room, the sleeping quarters, the greenhouse where she grew vegetables, the workshop where she repaired salvaged equipment. "This is all yours?" asked, looking around with wonder. "Yes, just mine." "You live here alone?" "For 4 years now." Was silent for a moment. "That is brave." Laughed. "Some people say it is crazy." Perhaps bravery and craziness are the same thing. She smiled at that. Maybe he was right. On the 10th day, told her the truth. They were sitting in the observation room, drinking coffee. Had introduced him to coffee 3 days ago, and he had become obsessed with it. He called it the most remarkable substance in the universe. "I need to tell you something," he said. His voice was serious. His eyes were heavy with something that looked like guilt. "Okay. I am not an ordinary person." Raised an eyebrow. You are an alien who crashed on my moon. I already knew you were not ordinary. That is not what I mean. Set down his coffee cup. I am the crown prince of the Dominion. Stared at him. The Dominion rules 47 star systems, continued. Billions of beings live under our protection. My father was the emperor. He died 6 months ago. I was supposed to take the throne. Supposed to. His jaw tightened. My uncle Admiral did not agree. He wanted the throne for himself. He hired assassins. He sabotaged my ship. He killed my guards. His voice broke slightly. I was supposed to die in that crash, but I did not because of you. Sat very still. She was processing everything he said. A prince, an empire, an assassination attempt. It sounded like something from a movie, not real life. Your uncle tried to kill you, she said slowly. Yes. And now he thinks you are dead. Probably. My ship's emergency beacon was destroyed. I jumped to random coordinates to escape. No one knows where I am. Paused. No one knows your planet exists. What do you mean? Earth, your solar system. It is not on our maps. It is too far from trade routes, too distant from any strategic location. The Dominion has never made contact with your species. Looked at her with something like apology. To us, you are unknown, insignificant. Should have been offended, but she understood what he meant. Humanity had barely reached its own moon. They had no faster-than-light travel, no galactic presence, no power that mattered on a cosmic scale. So we are safe, she said. Your uncle will not look for you here. That is what I believed, yes. The way he said it made her stomach tighten. Believed, past tense. Did not answer immediately. He turned to look at Earth, floating in the darkness like a jewel. My uncle is thorough, he said quietly. He will search every possible location. He will check every jump coordinate my ship could have reached. It may take weeks, it may take months, but eventually he will find you. Yes. Felt cold. She had saved this man's life. She had nursed him back to health, and now she was learning that she had painted a target on her back. But when she looked at, she did not see a threat. She saw a man who had lost everything. His father, his guards, his throne, his home. He was alone in the universe, hunted by his own family with no one to trust. Except her. Then we prepare, said. Looked at her with surprise. What? You said your uncle might find you, so we prepare. We make a plan. We figure out what to do when he comes. She stood up and crossed her arms. I did not save your life just to watch you die. You do not understand. If comes here with his fleet, there is nothing you can do. Nothing your entire planet can do. His ships could destroy your world in hours. Then we better think of something smart. Stared at her. In all his years of palace politics, military councils, and diplomatic negotiations, he had never met anyone like this woman. She had no power, no weapons, no resources, but she refused to give up. She refused to accept defeat before the battle even started. Why? He asked, the same question he had asked when he first woke up. Why do you help me? You know who I am now. You know what danger I bring. Why do you not ask me to leave? Was quiet for a moment. Then she sat back down and looked at him directly. 4 years ago I had nothing, she said. I lost my job. I lost my savings. I lost people I loved. I came to the moon because I had nowhere else to go. I was alone and scared, and I did not know if I would survive. She took a breath. But I survived. I built this place. I built a life, and I learned something important. She leaned forward. When everything is broken, you fix it. When everything seems impossible, you try anyway, because giving up is not an option. It has never been an option. She reached out and touched his hand. His skin was cool, smooth, strange, but underneath she could feel his pulse, steady and alive. You are my patient, she said. You are my guest, and on my moon I do not abandon people, no matter who is chasing them. Felt something warm spread through his chest. It was a feeling he had almost forgotten. It was hope. "You are extraordinary," he said softly. Smiled, "I am stubborn. There is a difference." "Perhaps not." 3 weeks passed, healed completely. He helped with her work, learning about human technology, sharing knowledge from his own civilization. They talked for hours every day. They became friends, maybe something more. And then, on a quiet evening, his proximity sensors started screaming. She ran to the control room, followed. They looked at the screens together and felt her blood turn to ice. Ships, hundreds of ships, emerging from folded space like demons rising from the dark. They spread across the lunar horizon, blocking out the stars, filling the sky with metal and fire. "How many?" whispered. His face was pale. 500, maybe more. "Is it your uncle?" "Yes," his voice was hollow. "He found me." Stared at the fleet. Each ship was bigger than her entire base. Each ship carried weapons that could destroy cities, and there were hundreds of them. She had no army, no fleet, no weapons. But she had her mind, and she had something to protect. "Okay," she said, straightening her spine. "Let us get to work." Transmission came through every frequency could detect. Admiral's voice was cold and commanding. It filled her control room like poison spreading through water. "This message is for the being who harbors the traitor prince. You have one standard rotation to surrender him. Comply and your primitive settlement will be spared. Resist and you will be erased from existence. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. The choice is yours." The message ended. Silence returned. Stood very still. Her heart was pounding, but her mind was clear. She had spent 3 weeks preparing for this moment. She had planned for every scenario. She had run through every possibility. Now it was time to act. "What are you doing?" asked as she moved to her communication console. "Something stupid," said. "Something that might just work." She opened a channel, not to the alien fleet, not to Admiral. "To Earth." "This is Moon Base Gamma 7, she said. "Broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. I need someone with authority to respond immediately. We have a situation. Alien fleet in lunar orbit. I repeat, alien fleet in lunar orbit. This is not a drill. This is not a joke. Someone answer me." Grabbed her arm. "What are you doing? Your species has no fleet, no weapons. You cannot fight them." "I am not trying to fight them." Turned to face him. "I am trying to change the game." For several minutes there was only static. Then, slowly, responses began to come through. Confused voices, skeptical voices, panicked voices. Ignored them all until she heard someone who sounded like they had power. "Moon Base Gamma 7, this is United Nations Emergency Command. Please confirm your transmission. Did you say alien fleet?" "Confirmed. Look at your telescopes. Look at your satellites. There are over 500 alien warships currently surrounding the moon. They are real. They are here. And they are threatening to destroy my base unless I give them something they want." Silence, then chaos. Could hear multiple voices in the background. Arguments, orders, confusion. Within minutes, every telescope on Earth was pointing at the moon. Every satellite was adjusting its sensors. Every news network was interrupting regular programming. The secret was out. Humanity was not alone in the universe. Watched the screens with growing amazement. Earth's communication networks were exploding with activity. News broadcasts showed images of the alien fleet, grainy but undeniable. World leaders were making emergency statements. Scientists were crying on television. Religious figures were calling for calm. 7 billion humans learned the truth in a single hour. "You told everyone," said. "You told your entire species." "Yes." "Why?" Turned to him with fire in her eyes. "Your uncle wants this quiet. He wants a clean assassination, a secret coup. He cannot afford witnesses. He cannot afford complications." She gestured at the screens. "Now he has 7 billion witnesses. Every human on that planet is watching. Every camera, every sensor, every pair of eyes is pointed at us. That will not stop him from destroying this base. No, but it will make him think twice. Pulled up her tactical display. Your uncle needs legitimacy, right? He needs the other noble houses to accept him as emperor. He needs the Dominion Council to support his claim. Nodded slowly. Yes, without political support, his position is fragile. Then answer me this. How will the noble houses react if starts an interstellar war with an unknown species over a succession dispute? How will the council react if he destroys an entire civilization just to kill one man? His eyes widened. They would not support it. The other houses are always looking for weakness. If acts recklessly, if he creates an unnecessary conflict. They will question his judgment. They will question his right to rule, smiled grimly. I am not fighting your uncle's fleet. I am fighting his reputation. For a long moment was silent. Then he laughed. It was a strange sound, full of disbelief and admiration. You are using your entire planet as a political weapon. I am using witnesses, evidence, accountability, shrugged. It is the same thing I would do if someone tried to push me around on Earth. Make sure everyone is watching. Make sure everyone knows who is the bully and who is the victim. The hours that followed were the most intense of his life. She coordinated with Earth's emergency command, explaining everything she knew about the Dominion, about the succession crisis. She answered questions from generals and scientists and politicians. She gave interviews to news networks. She became the voice of humanity's first contact. Through it all, she kept one eye on the alien fleet. They did not attack, they did not move, they waited. Your uncle is hesitating, said Tu. He is calculating, stood beside her, watching the ships. He expected to find a primitive base with no defenses. He expected a quick victory and a clean retreat. Instead, he found a diplomatic nightmare. So what will he do? He will try to negotiate. He will try to find a way to get what he wants without destroying everything. Paused. He is not stupid. He is cruel and ambitious, but not stupid. As if on cue, a new transmission came through. Moon Base Gamma 7. This is Admiral of the Imperial Fleet. I wish to speak with the human who has been communicating with the planet below. Took a deep breath. She straightened her shoulders. She opened the channel. This is of Moon Base Gamma 7. I am listening. You have created quite a situation, said. His voice was smooth, now controlled. I underestimated you. That was a mistake I will not repeat. What do you want? A negotiation, face to face. I will come to your base with a small escort. We will discuss terms like civilized beings. A pause. Unless you prefer that I simply destroy your station and take what I want by force. Looked at, he shook his head slightly. His eyes were warning her. But had not come this far by being careful. Fine, she said. Come to my base, we will talk. Excellent, I will arrive in 6 hours. I look forward to meeting the human who thinks she can play games with the Dominion. The channel closed. Grabbed her shoulders. This is dangerous, is a master manipulator. He has been playing political games for decades. He will try to trick you, threaten you, break you. Met his eyes steadily. Then I will have to be smarter than him. How? You have no experience with galactic politics. You do not know our customs, our laws, our traditions. Then teach me, placed her hands over his. You have 6 hours. Teach me everything I need to know. Every rule, every tradition, every weakness your uncle has. I am a fast learner. Searched her face. He saw no fear there, only determination, only stubborn, impossible, beautiful courage. There is one thing you should know, he said slowly, one tradition that might help. Tell me. When you saved my life, you created what we call the debt of life. It is an ancient bond, sacred and unbreakable. As long as I am bound to you, anyone who harms you harms me. Anyone who insults you insults me. Frowned, how does that help? Because I am the crown prince, the rightful emperor. If attacks you, he attacks someone bound to the imperial bloodline. The noble houses would never accept such disrespect. Squeezed her hands. You are protected. By our oldest laws, you are protected. A small smile crossed her face. So your uncle cannot touch me without destroying his own political position. Exactly. Good stepped back and cracked her knuckles. Now teach me everything else. We have work to do. Outside the base, 500 warships waited in the darkness. But inside, a single human woman was preparing to face an empire. And she was not afraid. Admiral arrived exactly when he said he would. His shuttle landed in the crater beside base, kicking up clouds of lunar dust that drifted slowly in the weak gravity. Watched from the observation window as the vessel's door opened and figures began to emerge. Came first. He was tall, taller than, with the same silver-blue skin but a harder face. His eyes were cold, calculating, the eyes of a predator who had never known defeat. He wore a military uniform covered in medals and symbols of authority. Behind him came 50 guards, each one armed with weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Met them at the airlock. She had dressed simply. Work clothes, clean but practical. She had considered trying to look impressive but decided against it. She was not going to pretend to be something she was not. She was a moon base engineer, and that was exactly who she would be. Stepped through the airlock and stopped. He looked down at with an expression of mild amusement, like a giant examining an insect. So, he said, his voice smooth and deep, you are the human who has caused me so much trouble. And you are the admiral who tried to murder his own nephew, kept her voice steady. We have both had an interesting month. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, perhaps. He had expected fear. He had expected submission. Instead, he found a small woman standing before him without a trace of trembling. You speak boldly for someone in your position, said. I speak honestly, that is different. Smiled, it was not a pleasant smile. Where is? Safe, that is all you need to know. I could tear this base apart to find him. You could try, gestured toward her control room. But first, perhaps you would like to see something interesting. She led him through the base, his guards following close behind. The corridors were narrow, forcing the soldiers to walk in single file. Had planned this route carefully. She wanted to see that her base was small, vulnerable, not worth the effort of destruction. But more importantly, she wanted him to see her screens. The control room was filled with displays, all of them showing feeds from Earth, news broadcasts in dozens of languages, live coverage of protests and vigils, world leaders making speeches about the alien threat, scientists analyzing the fleet with every instrument they possessed, and one special display showing something else entirely. What is this? Asked, staring at the largest screen. That is a direct link to the United Nations Security Council, said calmly. Right now, 500 million humans are watching this meeting live. They are watching what happens next. They are watching you. His jaw tightened. You broadcast this. Of course, first contact between humanity and an alien civilization is kind of a big deal. Everyone wants to see history being made. Clasped her hands behind her back. Everything you do here, everything you say will be remembered forever by my species, and I imagine by yours. You think witnesses will protect you. I think witnesses complicate things. Turned to face him directly. You came here expecting a simple mission. Kill, eliminate the evidence, return home as the uncontested emperor. But now every noble house in your dominion will learn that you threatened an uncontacted species. Now every political rival will have ammunition against you. Now the story is not about a clean succession. It is about a war criminal. Moved fast. His hand shot out and grabbed throat, lifting her off the ground. His fingers were cold and strong, like metal clamps around her neck. You forget who you are speaking to, little creature, he hissed. I have destroyed worlds. I have ended civilizations. You are nothing. Your species is nothing. I could wipe you all from existence and the galaxy would not even notice. Could not breathe. Stars were exploding in her vision, but she forced herself to speak, forcing the words out in a strangled whisper. Then do it. Froze. Kill me, gasped. Right here, in front of the cameras. Show everyone what kind of ruler you will be. For a long moment, the universe held its breath, then lowered her to the ground and released his grip. Coughed, sucking in air, her throat burning, but she did not back away. She did not show weakness. She looked up at the Admiral with defiant eyes. That was your first mistake, she said hoarsely. You just attacked someone bound to the Crown Prince by the debt of life. His expression changed. For the first time, she saw uncertainty. Oh yes, continued. Told me about your traditions. When I saved his life, I became bound to him, sacred, protected. If you harm me, you harm him. If you insult me, you insult the imperial bloodline. She smiled, though it hurt. I do not think the noble houses will be happy about that. You know nothing about our politics. I know enough. I know that power is fragile. I know that reputation matters. I know that you need the support of others to rule, and that support can vanish very quickly if you are seen as dishonorable. Step back. His face was a mask of controlled fury. Has been teaching you well. He is a good teacher. A door opened. Walked into the control room, standing tall and proud despite everything. His presence seemed to change the air itself, charging it with tension. Uncle, he said, it has been too long. Turned to face his nephew. You should have died in that crash. Perhaps, but I did not, and now here we are. Here we are, agreed. Surrounded by my fleet, inside a fragile base that I could destroy with a single command. What exactly do you hope to accomplish? Move to stand beside. I hope to survive. I hope to return home. I hope to take my rightful place as emperor. He paused. But more than that, I hope to show the galaxy what kind of man you truly are. And what kind is that? A coward. His voice was steady. A murderer who hides behind assassins. A pretender who fears fair competition. You did not challenge me openly for the throne. You did not face me like a warrior. You tried to kill me in secret like a thief in the night. His hands curled into fists. Careful, nephew. Or what? You will kill me here in front of witnesses with cameras recording everything, shook his head. You cannot, and you know it. If you murder me now, you will never be accepted as emperor. The noble houses will turn against you. The dominion will fracture. Everything you have worked for will crumble to dust. Silence filled the room. Then from outside, new alarms began to sound. Ran to her sensors, her eyes widened. New contacts, a lot of new contacts. On the screens, ships were appearing. Not enemy ships, different ships. Their markings showed symbols of noble houses, the High Council, the imperial loyalists who had been searching for their missing prince. 1,000 additional vessels dropped out of folded space, surrounding his fleet like a net closing around prey. Watched the display with quiet satisfaction. It seems my allies received my message after all. What message? Demanded. I have been transmitting since the moment you arrived. Everything that happened here, every threat you made, every word you spoke, smiled. The noble houses have been watching, Uncle. The High Council has been watching, and now they have sent their fleets to ensure that justice is served. Looked at the screens. He looked at his nephew. He looked at the small human woman who had ruined all his plans. This is not over, he said quietly. Yes, replied, it is. The door opened again. Soldiers entered, wearing the uniforms of the Imperial Guard, the true protectors of the crown. They surrounded its men, weapons raised. Admiral, one of them announced, by order of the High Council, you are under arrest for treason against the Dominion and attempted murder of the Crown Prince. Said nothing. He simply stood there, surrounded by enemies, his empire of lies collapsing around him. Watched him being led away. She felt exhausted, drained, like she had run a marathon across the entire moon. Her throat still ached from where he had grabbed her. But they had won. Against all odds, they had won. The days after his arrest passed in a blur of activity. Diplomats arrived to formally apologize for the violation of Earth's space. Legal experts from the High Council gathered evidence against the disgraced admiral. News crews from across the Dominion descended on the tiny moon base, all wanting to interview the human woman who had an empire. Answered their questions politely but briefly. She did not want fame. She did not want attention. She just wanted things to go back to normal. But normal was no longer possible, not after everything that had happened. 1 week after the standoff, the High Council made their announcements. Would stand trial for his crimes. His co-conspirators would be investigated and punished, and would be officially recognized as the rightful emperor of the Dominion. The coronation would take place in 3 months. Watched the news broadcast with a strange feeling in her chest. Sat beside her, but he was different now. He held himself with the weight of responsibility. He spoke with the voice of authority. He was no longer just her patient, her friend, her companion in isolation. He was about to become the ruler of 47 star systems. "You are leaving soon," said quietly. Nodded. "I must return home. There is much work to be done. The Dominion needs stability. It needs leadership." He paused. "It needs me." "I know." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the observation window, stars sparkled in the endless darkness. Earth hung in the distance, blue and white and beautiful. "Come with me," said. Looked at him. His purple eyes were soft, hopeful, vulnerable. For all his power, for all his authority, he was still the man she had pulled from burning wreckage. Still the man who had thanked her every day for saving his life. "What?" she asked. "Come with me to the Dominion, to my home." He turned to face her fully. "You have done something extraordinary. You saved my life. You saved my throne. You introduced humanity to the galaxy. The Dominion owes you a debt that can never be fully repaid." "I did not do it for payment." "I know, that is why I am asking, not offering." Reached out and took her hand. His fingers were cool and smooth, familiar now after weeks of healing and talking and simply being together. "I am asking because I want you there, not as a diplomat, not as a representative, as a friend, as someone I trust." Felt her heart beating faster. "I am just an engineer. I live alone on a broken moon base. I drink too much coffee and I talk to my plants, and I have never been anywhere more important than a mining conference. And yet you faced down an admiral with 500 warships. You outwitted a master manipulator. You changed the course of galactic history." Squeezed her hand gently. "You are not just anything, you are extraordinary." She wanted to argue. She wanted to list all the reasons why this was a bad idea. She was not qualified. She was not prepared. She did not belong in palaces and councils and the grand halls of an alien empire. But when she looked at, she saw something that made all her arguments fade away. She saw home. Not a place, not a building, but a feeling. The feeling of being understood. The feeling of being accepted. The feeling of being with someone who saw her exactly as she was and valued her anyway. She had spent 4 years alone on the moon, running from pain, hiding from the world. She had told herself she was happy. She had told herself she did not need anyone. But she had been lying. "What about my base?" she asked weakly. "What about my salvage operations? We can find someone to take over, or we can keep it running as an outpost. Earth will need places like this as they expand into the galaxy." Smiled. "Your species will not be primitive for long. You have potential, amazing potential. I have seen it in you." "What do you mean?" "I have traveled across the Dominion. I have met hundreds of species. I have seen empires rise and fall." Eyes grew serious. "But I have never seen anyone like you, anyone like humans. You run toward danger instead of away from it. You save strangers without asking for reward. You stand against impossible odds and refuse to give up. He stood and walked to the observation window, looking out at the stars. In 10,000 years of history, no one has done what you did. Not for me, not for anyone. You taught me something I had forgotten. He turned back to her. You taught me that power means nothing without courage, that authority means nothing without compassion, that a ruler who cannot be challenged is a ruler who cannot grow. Stood and joined him at the window. Earth glowed in the distance, and she thought about everything she was leaving behind. Her home planet, her species, everything familiar and safe. But she also thought about everything waiting ahead. New worlds, new discoveries, a future she could never have imagined. And always, "If I come with you," she said slowly, "I am bringing my coffee maker." Laughed, it was a warm sound full of joy and relief. Of course, I would expect nothing less. And I am not wearing any fancy robes or crowns, or whatever you aliens like to put on people. You can wear whatever you want. And I am not bowing to anyone, not even you. Smiled, I would be disappointed if you did. Nodded, then, before she could think too much about it, she reached up and kissed him. It was a strange kiss. His lips were cooler than a human's, smoother, different in ways she could not describe. But it was also perfect. It was honest and real and true. When she pulled back, was staring at her with wonder in his eyes. "What was that?" he asked softly. "A human tradition. When you want someone to know how you feel, you kiss them." "I see," he paused. "Do humans typically do this only once?" Smiled, "Not typically, no." She kissed him again. 2 weeks later, stood in the airlock of new ship, looking back at her moon base one last time. The small collection of buildings and domes where she had spent 4 years of her life. The place where she had been alone, and then not alone, and then forever changed. "Ready?" asked, standing beside her. "No," admitted, "but I am going anyway." The ship lifted off, rising above the lunar surface, climbing toward the stars. Through the window, watched Earth grow smaller and smaller until it was just a point of light among millions. She was leaving home. But she was also going home. The galaxy was waiting. Billions of stars, trillions of worlds, infinite possibilities. And humanity was just getting started. Smiled and took hand as the ship jumped into folded space. Behind them on Earth, the news networks were still buzzing with the story. The woman who saved a prince, the engineer who an empire, the human who proved that sometimes the smallest people could make the biggest difference. The story spread across the planet. It inspired scientists and dreamers. It changed how humanity saw itself in the universe. They were not insignificant. They were not primitive. They were humans. And they were just getting started. Far ahead in the depths of space, watched strange new stars appear through the viewport. She did not know what the future would bring. She did not know what challenges waited. But she knew one thing for certain. Whatever happened next, she would face it the same way she had faced everything else in her life. With stubborn determination, with impossible courage, with the simple belief that giving up was never an option. Because that was what humans did. They survived, they adapted, they refused to quit. And sometimes, against all odds, they won. The ship flew onward, carrying 2 souls toward a future neither could predict. But they were not afraid. They had each other. And that was enough.